Hey guys, here are the notes for 13.5. All right, so these notes are for Monday and Tuesday, 5.4 and 5.5. Okay, so before we start on the the cosine function, I just want to go back to your, I think this is your homework, right? And the answers are on Schoology, so you guys can check those answers when you get a chance, okay? I just wanted to go over number 2B with you guys, just kind of as a review, okay? So remember, what we're doing is we're sketching a cycle of this sine function, okay? So before we do that, we need to understand, okay, that my amplitude is 3. Zoom in a little bit here for you guys. And my B value is 1/2. And the period, okay, I can find that by taking 2 pi over B. In this case, it's 1/2. When you divide by a fraction, you flip that over, and the period will be 4 pi. Okay, so those three things really, the amplitude and the period are what you need in order to draw your graph. All right, just to review, the easiest way to do this, you guys, is to label the 4 pi. All right, so what you do is you start here at the origin. Now I'm gonna skip a line so it's a little spread out, okay? I'm gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4, okay? And that's going to be the end of one cycle, all right? Because the period is the length of that cycle. So whatever the period is, count out 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, if you look at all the points, we've got 1 point, 2, 3, 4, 5. And those are my 5 key points that we have to label, okay? All right, so we know that my amplitude is 3. Okay, so we're gonna go 1, 2, this is 3, 1, 2, this is -3. Okay, here we go. So remember, this is a sine function, starts at the origin, and we start the 0 here. So we're gonna go 0, max, 0, minimum, and 0. And then all you gotta do is just take your artistic abilities and draw that sine function in, okay? Now, for my key points, okay, remember, it goes 0, max, 0, min, and 0. Now, these will change, you guys. These will change if for some reason that's a negative, or you'll see today, if it's a cosine, those will change, all right? Okay, so my 0 is here at 0, 0. Now the max, okay, so watch. If this is 4 pi, take half of that. That point is 2 pi. Remember, that's radians, okay? Half of that is just pi. And then this one right here has to be 3 pi. So we got 0, 1 pi, 2 pi, 3 pi, 4 pi. Now it's easy because it's 4 pi, we just split it up easy, but you do that regardless. Okay, whatever that is, whatever the end of that period is, the end of that cycle, just take half of it, take half of that, all right, and then find the midpoint between those two. So here we go. My maximum is at pi, comma 3. Pi, comma 3. My other 0 is at 2 pi, comma 0. My minimum is at 3 pi, comma -3. And the 0 is at 4 pi, comma 0. Okay? That's the easiest way to graph these functions. Okay, take the period, count it out, and then label the other key points. All right, so hopefully that you guys are getting that. Okay, today's stuff, you guys. We're going to talk about the cosine function today, all right? If you guys remember, all right, you got your unit circles here, All right, as we're going around, okay, we're going around the unit circle. So 0, pi, 2 pi, all the way around. Okay, the sine function, we're looking at that y coordinate. 0, okay, 1/2, all the way around. Today, we're looking at the x coordinate, the cosine function. Okay, the cosine function. So we're going to see how that differs. If you have a TI-84 calculator, all right, I know a lot of you guys do. All right, what you can do is look, you can manipulate your window so you'll be able to see what the functions look like. What I did was for my x min, I put 0. For my x max, I put 2 pi. All right, 6.283 goes on. For my minimum, I put -3 for my y, and for the height of my graph, I put 3. Now you can change those if your amplitude is larger than that, all right? But you can see, I just typed the cosine. If I were to put the sine function in and graph it, okay, 0, max, 0, min, 0. Okay, and that's what that looks like. All right, very good. All right, so today's stuff, I'm gonna skip a little bit because this is pretty much the same as what we've seen before. Okay, with the sine functions. All right, let me grab this real quick. Okay. All right, as I move around the unit circle, okay, 0, 1 is the first one. So look at. Okay, if I don't go anywhere, if I go 0, the x coordinate is 1, okay? So that's why this is, let me make sure, this is a 1. Okay, pi over 2, if you're looking at your unit circle. All right, if I go over pi over 2, the x coordinate is 0. All right, -1, 0, and 1. Okay, if you want to look back at your sine functions and look, you can see how they differ, all right? Okay, the amplitude, all right? So if we're looking at y equals cosine of theta, that's what we're graphing right there. The amplitude is 1, okay? The period, okay, in degrees is 360 degrees. In radians, it's 2 pi. Because remember, to find the period, we use 2 pi over b, right? In this case, b is a 1. There's a 1 in front of that theta. So 2 pi over 1 is just 2 pi. The domain for this, well, before we do that, let's go ahead and graph this. So remember with the sine function, we started at 0, 0. In this case, we're starting up at 1, 0, 1, pi over 2, we have 0, pi, we have -1, 3 over 2 pi, we have 0, and then 2 pi, we have 1. So our cosine function looks like that. Okay, looks just like that. Now notice the difference between the cosine and then the sine function, right? The sine started at the origin, 0, 0. Cosine is going to start up here at that maximum. So my domain for this is going to be -infinity all the way to infinity. That's the length of the function. And my range is going to go from -1 all the way up to 1. That's going to be my range. All right, down here, examine the cycle of the cosine, from intervals from 0 to 2 pi. So we're going from 0 to 2 pi, all right? Where in the cycle does the maximum occur? The maximum occurs at, okay, at the 0 and at where? 2 pi. At the beginning and at the end of that cycle, okay, I have my maximum. Where does the minimum? The minimum occurs at pi. Right there, there's my minimum. Where do the zeros occur? At pi over 2 and at 3 pi over 2. okay? Here and here, those are my zeros. So unlike the sine, okay, the sine that went 0, max, 0, min, 0, the cosine is going to go maximum, 0, minimum, 0, maximum. Okay? Fantastic. All right, let's look at the second page of these notes. And these notes, you guys, are posted in Schoology. All right? All right. Just like the sine function, we have the amplitude and we have b. Remember, b is the number of cycles from 0 to 2 pi. And to find the period is just 2 pi over b. We already talked about this. When a is greater than 1, that means when it's a leading positive number, we're going to go max 0, minimum 0, maximum. Okay, now when a is negative, so if I have a negative leading coefficient there, okay, all that does is flips it, and now we got minimum 0, maximum 0, minimum. Okay? All right, let's get into the good stuff here, okay? All right, example 1A. Graph, just one cycle. And I already labeled, these are already labeled for you guys. All right, so it should be a little bit easier for you. Okay, so before we do anything, what I like to do is identify all my pieces of information here, okay? My amplitude in this case is -1/2. Now you got to be careful, you guys, all right? So what that means is this is going to start, okay, at the minimum. We're going to go minimum 0, maximum 0, minimum. Let's start down there. You got to make sure you understand that. All right, my b is 2, and the period is 2 pi over b, or 2 pi over 2, which comes out to just pi. All right? Okay. So if the period is pi, okay, that means from here to here is going to be one cycle. Half of that is pi over 2, all right? And then half of that is going to be pi over 4, so it's going to be right about here. That's going to be pi over 4, and then half of that is going to be 3 pi over 4. All right? Okay, so here we go. We're going to start down here at -1/2, which is right there. So ready? Minimum 0, maximum 0, and then minimum right there. So my graph is going to look something like that. Okay, remember, it's a curve, so it's not a V. It's going to be a curve. If I were to keep on going, all right, then what do? I'd go 0, maximum, 0, minimum. I could keep going, and those repeat over and over and over again. All right, so if I had to label my key points, my minimum is at 0, -1/2. My 0 is at pi over 4, comma 0. My maximum is at pi over 2, comma 1/2. My 0 right here is going to be 3 pi over 4, comma 0. And the last one is another minimum is going to be at pi. So pi, and then that's going to be at -1/2. So all we're doing, guys, by these 5 key points, we're labeling this point, this point, this point, this point, and that point. All right, let's look at B. Zoom a little farther for you guys. Okay. All right, so in this case, my amplitude is 2. My B value is 1/2, and the period is going to be 4 pi. Now remember, to find that, we just take 2 pi over 1/2. We're going to flip that over and multiply. That ends up being 4 pi. Okay, This graph is going to start at the maximum, 0, minimum, 0, max. And I know that because it starts with a 2. It's going to start up here at the 2. All right. Okay, so I'm going to change this. All right, I'm going to change this to 4 pi. Okay, half of that right here is going to be 2 pi. Half of that is just going to be pi. And then over here, this is going to be 3 pi. I don't know why those were written like that, but there you go. So once again, I went out to the end of my period, the end of that cycle, 4 pi. Half of that is 2 pi. Half of that is just pi. And then the midpoint between these two is 3 pi. All right, let's start here with our maximum. Our maximum is 2. So I'm there, maximum, 0, minimum, 0, maximum. All right, and there's my graph. I'm hoping that you guys are starting to get a little bit better handle on this. I really think the hardest part is coming up with those intervals. Once you have the 5 key points labeled on the number line, you literally are just saying those in your head. So max, 0, min, 0, max, or however. Now, if this would have been a -2, it would have started down here and then gone the other way. Okay? So just to fill these in, 0, 2, pi, comma, 0, 2 pi, comma, -2, 3 pi, comma, 0, and then 4 pi, comma, 2. Remember, that's your maximum. So all I did was I just labeled this point was 0, comma, 2. This point was pi, comma, 0. This point was 2 pi, comma, -2, so forth and so on, okay? All right, example number 2. Let's see if we can come up with the actual equation, okay? Remember, y equals a, this is going to be cosine of b times theta, all right? I need to find a and b. Well, they tell me for this one my amplitude is 4. So a equals 4, but I need to figure out the b value. They don't give me the b, but they give me the period. So what you need to do is this. You go 6 pi equals 2 pi over b. Remember, to find the period, it's equal to 2 pi over b. Cross multiply, so I get 6 pi times b equals 2 pi. So b equals 2 pi divided by 6 pi. Those cancel out, and it reduces down to 1/3. All right, so we know that b is 1/3. And you guys, that's all I really need to know to write my function. So my equation is 4 cosine, parenthesis, 1/3 theta. All right, okay, now, all right, I'm gonna go back real quick just to this example, because I did want to show you guys, I forgot. I wanted to show you guys how to check this on your calculator, all right? So if I wanted to go ahead and type in 2 cosine, parenthesis, 0.5, and then we'll just put x for theta, because that's really, it's the unknown. The only thing I'm going to do, though, is go to my window, because I want my maximum to be 4 pi, okay? 4 pi, and if I graph that, it's going to look just like that. All right, and it looks exactly how mine looks, and I was able to check that. So definitely use your calculators, use decimals, whatever you guys want to, but make sure you're checking that, and not just on the answer key, okay? Make sure you guys know how to check it yourself. All right, here we go, B. All right, my amplitude is 2.5. All right, once again, they don't give me the B value, but they give me this the period. Okay, so I got 8 is equal to 2 pi over b. So 8, remember, just cross multiply. 8b equals 2 pi. So b equals, all right, that's going to be 2 pi over 8. So b is going to be pi over 4. All right? It's okay to have pi over 4 or pi as your b value. It's okay. All right, so here we go. So y equals, all right, 2.5 cosine pi over 4 theta. Okay. There you go. The hardest part is finding the b value, and even that's not too hard. As long as you know how to set that equation up, find out what your b value is, and then you're good to go. Okay? All right. Good job, guys. I believe that's it for the notes. All right? That's it for the notes. This is going to be your homework, guys. Lesson 13-5, the cosine function worksheet. All right? I'm gonna do one with you guys to help you out and make sure that you guys are on the right track here. All right, it says sketch the graph of the function or the function in interval from 0 to 2 pi, list all the key points, give the amplitude, all that good stuff. All right, okay, amplitude right here is 1. The period, it's right before the theta, that's a 1. Okay, I'm sorry, not the period, the b value is 1. So remember, it's 2 pi over 1 or just 2 pi. Okay, so whatever that period is, you're going to go out to 2 pi. Now, what I like to do is to stretch it out a little bit, I'll make it an even number. So 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so that's the end of the period, 2 pi. Half of that is just pi. Half of that is pi over 2, and this is 3 pi over 4. So this is like, I'm sorry, not 3 pi over 4, 3 pi over 2. So this is like 0.5 pi, 1 pi, 1.5 pi, and 2 pi. Okay? All right, now this is cosine. All right, so it's going to start out at max 0, min 0, and back to the maximum again. Okay? All right, so let's start here. We'll say that this is a 1 and this is -1. So max 0, minimum, right there, max or 0 and maximum. Sketch that in, and there you go. And you just label the points. So a maximum is at 0, 1, and that is pi over 2, 0. The minimum is pi, -1. And then the other 0 is at 3 pi over 2, 0. And then 2 pi, 1. All right, so you got number 1 done. Hopefully that helps you guys. Again, check back. I will be putting the answers on there for you guys to check as well. Okay? All right, guys, thank you. Hope you guys have a great day, and stay safe.